Hi, welcome back to our weekly budget builds. We're going to be working on the C1500. We're actually going to be calling this the Dentley from now on because it's got a lot of dents. We're going to be taking the headers off and we're going to be painting them. So first we're going to take the headers off and we're going to get them up to a certain temperature. We're going to get them up to 60 degrees and then that's going to be plenty for painting. Right now it's pretty cold in the shop, so we're going to get the heaters rolling. But for now we're going to have Bobby help me take off the headers. Okay, so to get started with taking the headers off, you're going to want to take the spark plug wires and get them out of the way. Now, to make sure that you keep your spark plug wires in order, you're going to need some painter's tape, scotch tape, something you can write on so we can mark them in the firing order that they go. Right here, I put some tape on here and I marked the firing order 1, 3, 5, 7 on that side and 2, 4, 6, 8 on the other side. That's going to be your Chevy firing order from the distributor. Whenever you mark the spark plug wires, it's going to allow us to put them out of the way, keep them from getting all tangled up, and so we're going to be able to put them back to where they went and not have the firing order all misaligned and stuff like that. So right now I'm going to take some scotch tape. I'm going to write the number 1 on it. Good piece. I'm going to put it on the number 1 spark plug wire. So there you got a number 1 right there, so you can tell. I'm going to write a number 1 on the other side too. And we'll do that for all 8 of them. Okay, so now that we have all the spark plugs marked, we can pull them out and get them out of our way. The reason we're going to be wanting to paint our headers is you can see that the old paint that came on them is all just flaking off. And so we want to protect this from rusting out and getting holes while you're running. Okay, so now that our spark plug wires are out, we're going to go ahead and start removing these header bolts. We're going to actually have Bobby come in and do that. He's going to do one side, I'm going to do the other. These header bolts are actually rusted too, so we're going to want to paint those too.
So we're going to be unbolting the headers right now. You have to check what size your bolts are. On this one we got 3/8 inch. Yeah, so we got a little wrench right here. So we're just going to get to unbolting these. You just break loose a little bit. Just screw them out by hand. But like Hayden mentioned, these are a little rusted, so we're going to paint these as well.
Okay, so what we're going to be doing is we're going to be cleaning the surface rust off of these header bolts. As you can see, they just got a little bit of rust. We're going to be using a wire brush on this drill press, and I'm going to be holding it with some vice grips. This is what it's going to look like before we hit it with the drill press. And right here is the after shot of it. Pretty cleaned up, just enough to get the surface rust off so we can prep it for paint. Okay, so Bobby went ahead and got these bolts loose on here, and we're going to take them out. These are the last 2. I'd recommend just leaving these in there. You don't want to have that last one be your last one you're taking out, because whenever you go to have the header come off, it's going to be real hard to be holding the header at the same time and getting all the way to that very back bolt and wiggling it around. So go ahead and leave these 2 middle ones for the last one. You're good. Okay, so I have Bobby underneath. These headers have just real temporary mufflers on them, real cheap ones I got from the auto parts store. And so in order to get them off, we're going to have these lowered so he can get down to them. So Bobby's going to go ahead and remove those back mufflers, and there you go. Alright, so we got the header off. You want to have to wiggle it out. Be careful not to hit the spark plugs and crack them. The ends of those spark plugs are porcelain, and that's a insulator for it. And once it cracks, that spark plug's no good. You're also going to be real careful. You don't want to tear up the gasket on the header. They can be real tricky sometimes, but it just slides on out like that. There you go, you have this header. We're gonna clean these, get the paint off and paint them, make them look a lot better. So we just got this header off. We're gonna send it over to Jackson. He's gonna prep it for paint. He's gonna do all the sanding and all that.
So while Hayden and Bobby are getting the other header off, we're gonna start prepping this one. And what we're gonna do is take all this old rust off and start taking some of the paint off. And we're gonna do that by using sandpaper and just really getting in there.
So to get these ready for paint, we're not going to want to paint the threads. That'll interfere whenever you're going to tighten the headers back up. But we're going to want to use this painter's tape. Just wrap it around. It's pretty simple. Wrap a little bit around and tear it. Seal up the end and then it's ready for paint. We're going to go ahead and do the rest of these just like this. So we're going to be using this VHT high temperature flame-proof paint for the headers. You can't just use any old paint on these because of the temperatures they're going to be reaching. This paint's going to have you up to 1300 degrees or up to 2000 degrees Fahrenheit. I've just picked this up off Amazon. You can get it at any hardware store or pick it up at AutoZone, something like that. But we're going to hit these header bolts first. I got everything all taped off, and we're just going to do a light little spray. Okay, so we're going to do this little test spray here, just to see it's coming out. We're going to just hit them, just a little coat right like that. We're going to go ahead and do all the bolts just like that. Have the heater going because it's pretty cold in here. So this is what they're going to look like before you spray them. Here's after just one coat. I'm not going to be too worried on putting a heavy coat on these just because of the bolts on wanting to keep the rust off. You can use starting fluid, brake clean, anything really that cleans surfaces. We can get them ready for paint. But here we go. Just drench it. So now that we got it all clean, we're going to start spraying it with our high temperature paint. Just want to do a real little thin coat on there. I always do the parts that you can see first, the best I can. So this episode's going to turn into a 2-week episode. After painting those headers and getting them off, we're going to have to let them dry for a while. Once the paint's dry on them, we're going to put them back on the truck, get the spark plug wires, and the instructions on the can says that you have to start it for 5 minutes, let them warm up, shut them off, let them cool off. We'll go through that in our next episode. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Snapchat, and Twitter. There's our handle right here. Like, subscribe, and catch us next week on This Budget Garage.